tool for scrubbing data that is probably the most powerful in the mix here is awk. Awk is really more than just a tool. It's a powerful programming language for processing files of text. It reads input one line at a time and works on that. It even does floating point math. So some example uses here are, you may want to get the 4th, 6th, and 27th column of a file. You use awk. It's one print statement. You might want to reorder the column. So instead of getting 4, 6, and 27, you might want 27, 6, and 4. No problem with awk. You might want to calculate the difference between the numbers in the 5th and the 6th columns. Divide by the square root of the sum of the squares of that number in the first 3 columns. No problem. Easily done. It's a one-liner. You can also get all the entries that are within a certain range of numbers. For instance, you might want to get the rows in a file that have columns of latitude and longitude that are within a certain latitude, longitude box. An awk program is a sequence of a pattern that is followed by an action. All of this operates on a whole file. If the pattern matches, the action is executed. The file is treated as a sequence of records. By default, each line is one record. Each record then is broken into a sequence of fields, columns. You take one record, now you have fields. You have field 1, field 2, field 3, and so forth. Those are your columns. They are separated by a field separator, which by default is a white space. It can be a single space. It can be many spaces. The only exception is the \n, which is the new line. Then it reads the next record. Each field is assigned into a variable, $1 through $NF. NF here is actually a special variable, which is the total number of fields. Note that there's another special variable, which is $0, that contains the complete line. An application might be that $3 should be larger than 50,000, then print $0. So return the entire line if the third column is larger than 50,000. The syntax is on the command line, you type awk in single quotes, your command string, and then it could operate on one or more files, or you can again pipe strings into awk. The command string is of the form pattern action. Note that pattern can be nothing, it can be empty, and then the action is going to be executed on every single line. You can have many pattern action pairs specified in your program. Here's an example. Awk in single quotes, you say if the number of fields is greater than 3, then print the 4th column on some text file. So if there are more than 3 fields, print the 4th for each single line. awk2 has a few command line options. Here are just a couple given, capital F minus lowercase f and minus v. So if you use capital F, you can change the field separator to work on CSV files, which are defined to be separated by commas. You can say minus F, and then you give a comma, and then you operate on some CSV file. And now everything that is in between commas is going to be interpreted as a field by awk. You could also provide your entire program for awk in a script. Then you would just say awk minus F, look for all of your pattern action descriptions in this script and operate on file.txt. This is useful for fairly complex programs that you might want to execute, so you don't have to type out so much on the command line. Lastly, hand values into awk from command line variables. You can do that with minus v, and then you use a variable name. This could be anything. It could be A, B, C, D. Here I use var, and you set it to some value, and then you have your program that you might want to execute on some file.txt. This assigns value to the program variable var. So inside these curly braces, or really those single tick marks, you can use now the variable var, and it will have the value. There's an easy way to pass values from shell scripts into awk, for instance, dynamically specified latitude, longitude bounds. We can use var in the script. Note that there's no leading $sign, just var. One of the most common actions in awk is print. You want to select lines or records based on certain conditions, and then you put that out into another file. Awk implements a range of other string and arithmetic functions, for instance, substring, that returns a piece of the string S that starts at the index I that is n letters long. Note that you can omit the length. You can calculate the square root of something. You can get the arctangent of x over y between minus pi and pi with that function. There are many more of these functions implemented. Check the documentation for that. Note that you can also write your own functions with if and while and for, so it is a fully operational programming language. It's really worth to read the documentation, manuals, books to dive deeper because of its power of operating super efficiently on text files on the command line. Here are some examples. So we can say cat station.text. That is the input that we've seen many times before. And now we just want to print the first column. And we say print $1 on each record in station text. Note that there's no pattern here, just the action. And we get the first column. Maybe we want only the station names that are at latitudes lower than 34.1. Here we're giving a pattern, $2 shall be smaller than 34.1, and we're printing $1. This gives us CBET, which is at 32.4, and WTX, which is at 34.07. Maybe that wasn't quite what we wanted, because we actually wanted the full record, so we can use that same pattern, and instead of print just the station name, we print the entire line, $0. So now we have the full output from the file station.text. Let's make this a little trickier and say that our latitude should be less than 34.1, and our longitude should be larger than minus 106. And now we're losing WTX, and we're left with CBET here. Maybe we just want to change the order of our columns. So we're wanting the longitude, the latitude, and the station name. And so we're just doing that. Lastly, we can also pipe the output into sort. And now we're sorting by longitude. Again, awk is incredible. You can do many things. Read through the documentation. There's only so few things that I can show you here. It's an incredible tool that once you played with it and see its uses, you will welcome in your tool chest.